What's going on? This thing work? All right. Give me a second here. Make sure everything's dialed in. I'm knocking the dust off this thing. It's been about a year. So we're going to take the Baja 400 files that I have and we're going to race prep them out. I figured I'd do it live here. And then later I can cut and splice this together into a nice clean video. Maybe help some of y'all in future races race prep your files. Um, so I'm going to do this from scratch. I kind of glanced over what I have and what they put out. And if you saw on Instagram, I put out they put out the uh, Pro Loop, the Sportsman, and the Moto and Quad files. They look good. I mean, just glancing at them, I haven't done anything with them, but they look normal. They look like tracks. So we'll get in there and convert those to routes. We'll merge those all together into a nice, coherent single route file. And then we'll take a look at the score note list that they put out. And again, I got kind of excited because it looked like they took the past race, like the Baja 1000, and they had a GPS file attached to the note list. But from what I saw, the note list just had dangers in it. So it did not have all the gates, fences, turns, cattle guards, all that stuff in the actual file. It was just dangerous. So I reached out to the reps at Score, and they gave me some files last night. Again, I just kind of opened them up briefly, took a look at them, but they are KML files for Google Earth. And it looks like it's everything. So we're going to go in there and we're going to see if we can take that file in Google Earth after we race prep the initial file. We'll open up Google Earth and we'll see if we can go in there and kind of scrape out what we need, convert it to a GPX, hopefully the entire note list, and we will import that in the lead nav and see if we can bring those in as audio waypoints. That's it. This could be quick. This could take me a while, depending on how much I screw it up. And I just wanted to kind of give the opportunity for those who care to kind of see me go through the process of thinking through this and building out this race file. Later, when I get done with the race file, I'll put this race file up in the store and it'll be available to you up there. But you can also race prep this yourself. And we're about to show you how. So I just have this thing open now. Let me just double check before I start going. Everything looks to be working. No buffering. Let me double check on here. Just bear with me here. All right, live is up. Try to find my chat window here just in case. Where is it? Where is it? Profile docs view. Grid. See if I can open it up on here. Turn the sound down on this thing. Where's my chat window? What is this? Hold on a second. Close. All right. I'll have a chat window up over here, so just in case anybody jumps in here. Again, I don't expect anybody to, and I'm hoping you don't actually, because this might get ugly. But I'll leave this video up there for everybody to kind of go through later. And again, I'll clean this up into a quick format, just the key points of what we learned building this file out. All right, so let's get started. See if I can get this pulled up. iPad view. All right. You should see my iPad right here. Let's go to Score's website See, I'm in the Baja 400 GPS files. Like I said, they put out a pro list of files. Then they have the course notes, and then they put out sportsman, some files, course notes, and then motos and quads course notes. So that's what they put out. You can see if you go in the actual course notes, they have them. They have files in here as well. So we're gonna kind of just double check these, see if there's a difference between these and the other ones, or if these just have the notes. Which I glanced at it and it looked like they just had dangers in there. They didn't have any of the other notes in them. So let's just go back to GPS files. Let's import the Pro GPX. You don't know, Lead Nav handles GPX files. So does Lowrance and definitely Garmin. GPX is the universal file type of GPS files. Of course, Lowrance has USR as well as their kind of file format that they use themselves. But every GPS, even Lowrance, can import a GPX file. The KMLs are for Google Earth, and we're gonna use those later with the files that they sent me to kind of see what they gave me in that note file. Double check here real quick. Just checking the audio. All right, we're good to go. Let's get started. It's amateur hour, sorry. All right, GPX files. We're going to click on the GPX file, download. Up top in our browser, you saw the down arrow up there. It is, I have two of them in here because I just did it earlier. Just kind of went through the motions. These are both the same file. They just put a number 2 in there. They'll start naming them if you download multiple names or same file. So we're just going to import the original right here. Click the square up top there. We're going to import this in the Lead Nav. We're going to import this into its own collection, essentially its own folder. Import. Now you can see we got 0 routes and 6 tracks and 500 markers coming in with this file. Hit OK. Go with the menu. You see I can back out of here, and I wiped this iPad clear of all files, so the only thing in it right now is the file we imported, the collection. So we go back in there. You can see the 6 tracks and the 500 markers that are in there. Just go to markers real quick, kind of see what's in there. So they do have dangers in there. So it looks like that there's no difference between the files that they had in the GPS file category or the course notes web browser. They're probably the same files. Originally, I thought they were going to give, what I would hope they would give in the future is they give you the GPS files for all the routes and the tracks and, you know, your RMs and VCPs. And then in the course notes folder, I'm hoping that in the future that they just give you a separate GPS file that contains all the notes as points. So then, depending on your skill level, if you don't get the pre-run at all, or, you know, you're somebody that likes to have all those gates and fences and everything else in your file, that you would have the option to go in there and import that in the Lead Nav. But maybe you're somebody that doesn't want all that fluff in there. You want to take your own notes and you just want to dial them in yourself. Well, then you don't have to import those course notes into your file. But in the future, I think Best in the Desert already does this. They give you the tracks of the actual race with the RMs and VCPs, and then they give you a separate file of their course notes that if you want to, you can import into the file. So just looking at it here though, it looks like they only put the dangers, physical points in for the dangers on the list. So we'll just back out of there. We'll go to tracks. Again, tracks are just breadcrumbs. It's just a line. So we're going to convert each of these tracks into a route, which is something that we can edit and use. So just looking at the naming of them, though, it's kind of always interesting to see how they name these. You got four-wheel vehicle, basically S2, S3, S4, S5, and S6. I'm guessing S1 will probably be the start and finish when they put it out, which they have not put out yet. I heard they're going to put it out today or tomorrow. So I'm guessing if we go into S2, take a look at it. Yeah, you can see right there. You can see we're missing the start coming out of Ensenada. That's what they always do because they don't want you to pre-run that. So you can see we're missing that. So I'm S2 is the first or the second leg. Kind of take a look at it. Again, I haven't looked at this at all. So it's going to be a little, you're going to have to bear with me as I kind of figure it out in my head too. But just looking at it right now, obviously we're going clockwise. See the rally markers counting up. All right. So let's take a look at S3. Back in there. S3 view. So it's S3. What I'm doing right now is I'm just making sure that these are going in the right order. So there's where S2 ends. View. You see there's where S3 starts and ends. Now let's go to S4. Okay, looking good so far. Just making sure they're in order. S5. S6. And what was that? Pre-run access. Let's see what this is. I guess that's just kind of the entry into the course. So we'll keep that section out because when they put out the start and finish, we'll have to go back in there and splice those in. Let's see here. Should have my chat window up here. Second. All right. All right, so let's start converting these tracks to routes. S2, go in there, convert to route. S3, convert to route. S4, convert to route. S5, convert to route. S6, convert to route. And I'm going to leave out that course access because I don't think that's really part of the course. I think that's going to be the start when they release it, part of the start. So now we have S2, S3, S4, S5, and S6. We made sure we know they're in the right order as far as the start to finish of these sections, but let's actually make sure that none of them are going backwards because this matters. When you join them together, you'll get a big spider web if they're not going in the right order front to back. So pulling up S2, if we pull it up and go to edit, you can see it snaps us to the beginning of that route segment. So if you go to the end of it, you can see a little you can see a little blue circle around the end of it. That's because we're a route editor. And if we were going to build a route start to finish, if I drop a point right now, you can see it's adding to the end of the route line. I'm going to delete that point, that point. So we know that that's going in the right direction. If this was going backwards, when we went to edit this route, it would snap this to the other end of it. And that blue circle would be at the beginning of it. And when you continue to draw the route out, you'd be adding to the beginning of the route. And we would know it's going backwards, which then you could just go into the menu and use reverse to flip the route around. This happens a lot to where the race organizers will build the route or the race out with existing tracks that they've had, or they'll go into Google Earth and they'll just cut and splice out tracks from previous events, and they'll like consolidate those and hand those out. But if the track that they had was going the opposite direction, or for like last year's race and the course was going the opposite way, well then that would give you a list of routes that some are going front, some are going front to back, back to front. And when you go to merge those together, you get that big spider webbing. You'll get like the big red spider web because it's joining. When we go to merge these together, it's joining the end of a route to the beginning of the next route. And if one of those is going backwards, obviously it's going to connect the opposite section together. So let's go. Now that we have the routes up, converted, we'll just go into one of the routes. And we're going to go down to join multiple routes. And we're just going to make sure that these are going in the right order. Like if you had number 2 down there, it's going to also spider web it out because it's going to try to join front to back. So these have to be in the right order from front. You got each route has to be going in the right direction, and they have to be listed right here in this menu in the right order. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to join those together, and we're going to put Baja 400 race route. Join. Back out of the menu. Now, when you back out, you're going to see that you have the Baja 400 race route, which is a combination. If we go to edit that, it's all those segments combined. And how do we know that? Because we put a pin at the join point of each of the segments that we've merged together. So you can see, just looking at it, just going through and making sure everything's good from start to finish. Everything looks good. So now, if you want, you can go in here, click on the pin, the join pin, and make that back into a serpentine, which will just eliminate that waypoint. If you don't eliminate this waypoint, you're going to actually hear that. You're going to get navigation to that pin and hear it audibly, which you probably don't want. But right here, it just helps you kind of visualize what's going on. So now we know everything's good. We're going to go in here and get rid of these points. All right. Now what we can also do, now that we have a complete route, we can go into each of these route segments and delete them. Because now they're just duplicates. So now if we back out, in our main collection menu, we have one route and 500 markers. Again, the 500 markers are these little black diamond pins. We go back into that race route, edit. You see now we have a complete route. If we hold our cursor off the little plus sign off the route, down there at the bottom, you see total distance 351 miles. That's total flat line distance of this route line. And obviously, they haven't given us the start and finish yet. So that's going to add to that. So there's your Baja 400. Just kind of some other little tips. Like if you hold that plus sign on the actual route, you can see that the bottom menu, the bottom display switches from total distance to distance in route. And that is the distance in the route line that you're holding the cursor on right now. So you can scroll down the route line and see the mileage in the route. If you go off of it, it goes back to total distance, 351 miles. If you aim at it, 28.89 and all that stuff. So other than that right there, the next thing you would do is go pull up your settings, and with ProPack, go into map, and you got world imagery, which is I'd recommend for down there. You're going to click the little cloud icon next to it, go to download. You can see I already have a cache in here from a previous event. I'm going to delete that out. That's previous background map imagery that I saved for the last race. So we're going to wipe that out. And you want to do that every event. You don't want to keep all these tiles in the background for your next event. You'll run into an issue, especially here, because I actually had tiles saved around, I think, the last Baja 500. If you have tiles from multiple trips in the memory, in the cache, it's going to have trouble drawing those maps out. Like when it's loading individual tiles of map imagery. And if you have just a clutter of map tiles stacked on top of each other, it's going to get confused and it's going to have trouble drawing those out. So it's a good idea after every event just to delete your cache for that map type and start from scratch. So we're going to go in here now. Now you see I don't have any tiles saved. Now, using ProPack, and again, if you're doing a race, you need ProPack. Don't try to do this with Advanced Pack. Don't try to sit there with Advanced Pack and saving super tiny tiles for hours and hours along this entire course. It's going to have trouble drawing all those tiles out. It's going to crash. It's going to give you issues. It's not made for that. Advanced Pack is for people walking on foot in small areas. ProPack allows you to save massive 1 gig tiles of map imagery in the background, and it also has save along route, which allows you to save along the entire route a distance out from it automatically in one tile. So you can see here it's a little, you have a cloud icon at the beginning of each route or track. So we still have the original breadcrumbs, the blue tracks in the background. We want to keep those in there because we're going to be working with the actual route, the red line, and editing that or notes. But say you're out there pre-run, you find a hot line or a better line that you want to run. It's good to keep the original tracks in there because it provides you a blue line of the actual course that they gave you. So if you want to deviate and drag your route line or run a hot line, then you'll at least have in the background that blue original racetrack to kind of reference when you're out there. So we keep the tracks in there. I suggest you keep them in there. Don't delete those. But you can see with that, I now have a cloud icon for save along route at the beginning of each track and the route. So that's why you still see a cloud icon here to do a save along route. But we know, let's see if I can get the right cloud. There should be 2 of them right here. Let's see what happens. If I click on this one and I say I want 18 zoom of imagery, 200 meters on either side or 200 on either side of the track or route line, save. You can see right there it's taken off. In blue, that's where it's at right now. If I stop this, click anywhere to stop it, you can see how far it got. And what it's doing is it's saving an overview tile of the course, which you can see I'm clicking on the track line. So it's saving from this along this track segment, which is S2. It's saving an overview tile of the area of like, I think it's like 14 or 15 zoom. And then I chose 18 zoom, and you can see how far I let it get to as it's switching from red to blue. It's auto saving the map imagery in the background along that track. So if I stopped it, but if I go back to the label of it right here where it says incomplete and click on that, I can complete download. You can see 1.7, 1.8. And we're going to let that save out. Double check on here. Look for my chat window while that's saving. Output stream. Where are we at? 11%. See, I mean, it's going to take a little bit, but it's not bad. You sit here, let this thing go. You're going to do this for each segment until you have all the imagery that you want in the background saved out. If you don't know what I'm doing right now, if you do not do this when you go off the grid with no cell service or no Wi-Fi, even if you have Starlink, because Starlink, it's kind of hard for this thing to populate the map imagery in the background because of the way it's pulling this from our outside providers. So even if you have Starlink, you still want to do this. You still want to save your map imagery in the background. Otherwise, when you get out there, you're just going to have a gray blank background with no maps in the background. So you won't have anything to reference when you're in Baja. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Chat. Ah, all right. Got it. I have the chat window back. There we go. All right. In case anybody wants to jump in here. All right. So 24%. But you get the idea. We have the tracks converted to routes, the routes merged into one route. And right now we're just saving and storing background satellite map imagery in the background. So when we go to Baja, we have it offline. And I'm going to stop this right now. But you're going to go back through and you're going to do this. I went 18 zoom, which is the max zoom I can have. Don't get greedy with this right here. Like, don't go try to take 1 kilometer on each side of the route line. That's way too much. Just 200's good. It just gives you enough play on either side of the route line in case you want to find a hot line. You're just going to go in here and you're going to do each one, save, let that get to complete, save, let that get to complete, save, same thing. You're going to let those get to complete, save, just like that. You're going to go through and save out all your map imagery that you want to take with you. Now, again, with ProPack, if I sit here and zoom this square tile, you can see down here in the bottom right, you got max zoom. At that size of tile, it's going to allow you to take 16 zoom. So let's see how we use the plus and minus to zoom in and see how big it can be to be 18. So that's that's under a gigabyte tile, but you can see how big of an individual tile you can save with Pro Pack versus an Advanced Pack. But if you wanted to, there's 18 zoom. We got down there in the bottom right. Max zoom that this area in the window is going to save is 18 zoom at that size. If we go bigger with it, watch that max zoom at the bottom. See, it went to 17 because at that size, that's the biggest the tile can be per save. There went to 16. So let's go back down to 18 and say we want a detailed we want detailed map imagery of Ensenada. We're gonna be hanging out there for a while before and after the race, so you might want to save a tile out right there. Okay, this is gonna save an 18 zoom max zoom tile of Ensenada. You're gonna let this go to 100%, and then say you just want to kind of 15's a good. I would say 15 zoom is a good zoom level for your chase teams. It allows you to see the roads, the trails, anything that you can get a chase truck down, you're probably going to see in 15 zoom. If you're racing, especially on dirt bike or quad or something like that, and you want better imagery to kind of find your hot lines, you definitely want to pull 18 zoom, max zoom. So when you're out there, you can kind of look at the map and find, different routes you want to take a look at. But you could go in here and there's a 15 zoom tile. You can save that. Say you're chasing down the coast here and you want to save for your chase guys, you can save tiles just like this. So you're going to stay down here below the race route. You can save a tile there. Excuse me. But this is just saving out your map imagery that you want to take with you in the background. All right, you can go back. It's going to tell us how many tiles and how much we saved so far in there roughly. You can go back and do the same thing with terrain. If you wanted to save a topo style map in the background, you can go ahead and save something like that. Look how big that tile can be at 15 zoom. You can just save that right there on the whole course. And like I said, for your chase guys, that's good enough right there. Just one tile, just let that thing save out, and you'll have 15 zoom, a good overview to get you around the race course. And we can go back. If we leave there, I'll show you what 15 zoom looks like. If we look at our zoom scale here under the menu, there's 11, there's 12, 13, 14, 15. And that's what I'm saying. You're going to see plenty of roads and everything else at 15 zoom for chasing. And if we go to the Israel or the world imagery, there's 15 zoom right there for the world imagery. And you can see there's plenty of detail in there to kind of find how to get to the course if you have to cut over to it while you're chasing. So 15 zoom is good for chasing. I'll do save along route 18 zoom, 200 meters, 250 meters on either side of the route line for everybody pre-running and actual racing. Race day, you're going to have these maps open while you're pre-running to find those lines that you want to take and just to coordinate with your chase teams. But come race day, usually what we do is we go to none for map type after we have all of our notes plugged in, and we'll have just a clean, bright red line with a non-cluttered background and just your notes coming down it. So while you're racing, you're going to be, most people prefer to run like this right here with all your notes. That's it. At any time, say you break down or you need to find another line or something happens, there's a bottleneck you want to get around, you can always turn back on your saved map imagery and it'll show up in the background. And then you can use that to get around the problem. So, see, I'm spending a lot of time just explaining this, but really, as far as the race prep, I mean, right there at a basic level, you can go pre-run that route line. So I mean, there ain't much to actually just taking. If they handed out the tracks and they're clean like they were, they're easy to merge together into a complete race route. It I mean, you're done in like a couple minutes, and then you just sit there saving out the map imagery that you want to take. Well, let's go. All right, so let's go into the course notes. Let's pull those up. Let me make sure. Let me pull this up here. Web shot. All right. All right. You see, I'm on Score's website. So right down here, they have course notes. And you can see they put this list out. And this is what they've done for years. They put this list out, which is great if you're driving down the race route pre-running and you have an odometer and you're sitting there starting and stopping an odometer. And then I guess you would have this paper rally book in your hand. But for you to put these into the race route, it's nearly impossible. I've done it over the years because I would sit here, we'll go back, say, let's just look at some of these. So we know that in the race file, let's go back to the race file here. You know, in the race file, we noticed that they put the danger marks, right? So let's look. Let's go back to the beginning of the course. Start working on this thing. Let's look for their danger 4. So right there's danger 4. Now let's go back to the course list. Back up top. And we are on the pro. So looking down through their notes, where's danger 4 at? First of all, what mile? We can see danger 4 is right past RM40. So if we go down here, here's 40. Danger 4. You can see right there below RM40 is a dip, right? So going back. So danger 4, we can go in. You can either use one of these dots around it, or if you want to be accurate, you can hold right on the route line, drop a waypoint, drop a danger symbol, and we're going to put whatever style you like to do. I like to do all caps, danger, dip. And I'll put a couple exclamation marks behind that. Hit save. So, and if you want to make those bigger, you can go in the display, increase waypoint text size, danger dip. I like that's how your preference. I like to put the danger up front because that's what you're going to hear. When you're coming down the course line, you're going to hear in 450 meters, danger, dip. And then visually, I put the exclamation marks in there because the race organization gave you that point for a reason. Because it's probably, if you don't know that's coming up, you're probably going to be in a bad way. So I like to put the exclamation marks. Some races, like Best in Desert, they'll put dangers and then they'll put like extreme dangers. So depending on how they're handling the course notes, if they're doing that, sometimes I'll just put one exclamation mark at the end. Extreme danger, I'll put like 3 or 4. Just to visually, if you have a co-pilot watching the screen, just to kind of visually trigger him as something, as at the severity of what's coming up. But that's up to you. I just put all caps danger dip in there. But you can see that was easy because they have the danger as a physical point in the file. Let's keep going a little bit. Let's look down here at the next one. There's VCP. There's a stop. What is that stop for? Let's look for the stop for. What mile? That's VCPE. Where's it at? Here's F. Where's VCPE? E. Okay. Stop 4 is full stop before turn left into main road. All right. So full stop before turn left onto main road. So let's bring that back up. Click on that. It's got a dot near it. So we'll click on that. Choose the stop sign and put, let's get rid of that. Oh, wrong keyboard. Let's get rid of that. Let's put a full stop. Put lowercase before turn left onto main road. Main road. All right. Full stop before turn left on the main road. So we have that point in there. And that's all I typically do. I'd go down through this thing and I would hand jam in the entire note list into the route file. But that's easy to do with the dangers and some of those points that they put into the file. But you can see it's nearly impossible to do that with gates, fences, cattle guards. I mean, some of the turns they put, you can kind of figure out because you can actually see a corner. Some of the washes are easy to figure out, or dips, because they'll kind of you'll know it where the dip is because you'll see the mileage and you'll see, like in the imagery, you'll see a wash right there. So you could probably guess that the dip is right there. But the problem is, especially with the score races, is they don't give you the start and finish right now. So you don't even have half of the mileage in the course right now. So if we go to the beginning of the route and look at the distance, you can see down there in the bottom, it says 220 feet. That's mile 0. So you can see if I go to, let's go down to RM40, hold on it. It's RM40, which is mile marker 40, is 3.58 miles. So traditionally what I would do is I would take this beginning point of the course, drag it out. I'd sit here and drag this point out. Now let's go to RM40. Now it's 33.58. Got pretty close, but I still got to keep going. Now let's go down. $37. All right, keep going. See here. 40 went too far. Now we're at 42.39. So I got to come back in here and sit here and calibrate the route line. And this is what I had to do for years. Where the heck am I? All right, RM40. 42 miles. I still have to shave off 2 miles. But you get the point. I'd basically have to drag the beginning of the route out to calibrate the RM. Then I would have to look at the note list. I would have to pull up this course list that Score gives you. And I would have to look at mile marker 38.12, find it, and to label a dip or a cattle guard or a fence. Or you can see why this takes all day, because what happens then, the farther you get in the course with more mountains and terrain, the calibration goes off because you're looking at a flat route line. So as you go up and down hills, you'll start to drift from your calibration where the distance in the route is. So it's a constant going back to the beginning, checking on RM. If it's RM, 300, going in there and dragging the start, going back to RM 300, dragging the start, going back to 300 until you get it exactly at 300 so you can continue guesstimating where a gate is. And like I said, sometimes on the imagery, you can see a fence row so you know where the fence is. But man, not fun. This is not fun to do. Um, so I've asked Score over the past year, how they make this file, and they actually have a GPS file for this whole course list. That's how they make this course list. They go out there and they physically mark a point. Best in the Desert and some of the other races, like I said, they provide you the race route GPS files, and then they give you a course note GPS file that has a physical point for everything in this list, which then you can just go in there and basically at least you have a reference of where exactly it is, and you can go in there and hand click in that point. But better yet, what we're going to try to do today is they gave us the course note file. We're going to convert that to a GPX, and we're going to do some shuffling around to auto pull in to we're going to use the feature convert markers. Let me show you up here. We're going to use this feature convert markers to audio waypoints. And what that does, it's going to take every marker within the vicinity of a route line, and it's going to pull it into the route as a waypoint pin. Now, here's what's going to get tricky, because we got to do some shuffling around, because we don't want RMs, every rally marker, every VCP to get pulled into the route as an audio visual point. You might want to hear VCPs, but if you pull them all into the route line with all these important notes, if there's a VCP right before an extreme danger, it's going to step on what's more important, that extreme danger coming up as far as reading out the notes. So we're going to do some shuffling around. I'm going to kind of show you what I do to kind of get that done. But in the end, it's a lot quicker than obviously in the past when I had to go through here and guesstimate where all these points were. And maybe these fences and gates and cattle guards aren't important to you, and all you have to do is go down and enter your dangers. Maybe you're somebody that does hardcore pre-running and you don't care about any of this course note list. Maybe you're in a trophy truck and some of this stuff isn't, you don't want to have all this clutter on your file, and you're going to pre-run anyway, so you're going to mark all the important stuff yourself. Well, this is totally easy because you saw what we did. We took the tracks, made them in the routes, merged the route into one route, and then you can go in here and clean up the point files a little bit graphically if you want to. And then they have the dangers in the list, so you can easily go through the file and enter the dangers, the important dangers that Score gave you. And you're done. You go pre-run for a week and you take all your own notes. You mark the cattle guards, the gates that you care about, the dips and all that stuff. So easy day. But if you're somebody that doesn't get to pre-run a lot or in detail, you might want to have this entire course note list in your file. So that's what we're going to kind of go over. We're going to kind of get that done. That's typically what I put up on the store for sale. Because as you can see, setting it up for somebody who does hardcore pre-running isn't that bad. You could do it in probably 10 minutes. But actually putting this whole course note file in there could take 12 hours. But we're going to try to do it with the actual file that they provided. In the future, I've been talking to them. In the future, hopefully Score puts a GPS file with the course notes, and it's an option. You can just import it in like I'm doing right now. So, but this is where it's going to kind of get questionable. The only other thing I'll say before I get into this, because you might want to check out of this video at this point, but some of the other things I like the race prep on the file is you can go in the markers, go in the new, make sure I'm on the right screen. Some people like to, let's start here at the beginning. Some people like to take the VCP pins and make them a different symbol, like a blue square. You can go and click on each of these blue square. And that way, when you're racing, you have the VCPs shown as their own marker symbol. You can do stuff like that. Go through here. Some people want to hear the VCPs, so you can go in and make each VCP a waypoint. Like, let's see what else they got in here. Danger. You could go into the. We're gonna drop a danger pin, a waypoint pin, but I mean, you could go in here to the danger and make it a skull. Make the VCPs, blue squares. Go down through each of them, do that, and then it stops. Maybe you want a symbol for a stop. Again, we're going to put those in audio visual waypoints. We're going to drop those pins in anyway, but maybe you want a symbol for a stop like that. There's a stop. Let's see some other things that we usually change as far as symbols. Wash. Wash. I mean, like some of these like city points and towns, if you want to like make those another symbol, I mean, I usually make them like stars or something. Just kind of stick out. That. I'm looking for a speed zone. Here we go. Let's find a simple speed zone. Speed zone. So speed zones is a checkpoint there and a stop. I like to put a red diamond at the beginning of a speed zone. This is where it transitions to a 37. Put another red there. And where it ends, I usually like turn that into a green. But when we go in there into the route, when we go into that route, there's the end. The other race prep thing I kind of like doing is going, we're going to put speed zone. See, there's going to be a stop and a checkpoint here and all that's good stuff. So I'm going to actually drop the pin for a speed zone right here. I usually like putting a stop sign. I mean, you could do a like yellow circle. I usually like putting a stop sign and put speed zone 60 mile per hour. And then if it's a real long section, I kind of like putting along the section a couple stop signs and just putting maintain 60. And then right here, it's going to switch to a speed zone 37 miles per hour. And look, if you want to drop it right on the point, you can drop it right on there. And we're just going to put speed zone 37 miles per hour. And then look, it goes for a ways. So in here, I'll put, that's too close. Put it right in the middle. Just a little reminder, because this is going to show up as your next point. So if you forgot the speed of the zone you're in, up on the top of the display, after you get through that, speed zone 37 miles per hour, the next point you're going to see is a maintained 37 miles per hour. So it's just kind of good a reminder. And where it ends, I usually leave it as a green flag and put end of speed zone. All right. That's about it. Oh, here, BFG pit. If I'm going to click on that, sometimes you can click on it in route editor. It's kind of tough because I'm hitting the serpentine dot. But like I said, if you want to aim right at it and drop a point, if you're off the route line when you drop this point, just drop it. You see what it did? It just dropped from the end of the route because you're adding to the end of the route line, not dropping in the middle. So we're going to delete that last point. So when you're doing this, just make sure you're actually holding within proximity of the route line. And that is BFG pit 2. Right? But like if you want to go into that symbol, you can go back into markers, hit new up top, so you're in the marker editor. And that's where you just have the markers shown, and you can go click on that marker. And I make the P for parking for pit. I like changing the symbol too in there. There's no BCP. Anyway, you get the idea. You can clean this file up however you want, however you want visually to look. So let me see here. All right. All right. So now let's get into the tough stuff. Let's take a look at what they gave me as a file to kind of hopefully get these course notes in here. We go back in and get rid of our beginning. Drag this back over. We could just delete that point, but we'll take this back to where it was. That was our calibration mark. Full stop. Let's make these small again. All right. Let's see what we can do with this file. Let me pull it up here. Let me get Google Earth up on the screen. All right. So we have Google Earth up here. Now, again, he gave me some files. Let's see if I have them up here. Capture device. All right. Let me see if I can import these files into here. Kind of show you what. I'm trying to show you what he gave me. Here we go. We're going to get into this on the left here, GPS Babel. We're going to use that to convert. It's a free program. You can download on your computer. We're going to use that to convert. Hold on. We're going to use that to convert. Once we pull out what we want, we're going to use that to convert the KMZ KML to a GPX so we can use it in lead nav. But over here on the right, this is what he gave me in the file folder here. He gave me a Pro pre-run KML, a Sportsman KML, and the Moto and Quad KML. So let's I'm gonna go back to Google. I'm gonna click on one of these and import it into Google Earth. There it is. All right, now just bear with me because this is new territory right here. I don't know what we're really looking at. And I'll probably screw this up once or twice. But let's see what he gave me. So I imported his Pro pre-run KML file. And you can see NT. If I click on one of these, fence. Now here's where it's going to get interesting because these came up as this NT symbol or named NT point. But then the fence, the verbiage is buried in the point. So we'll see how that works out for us. Hopefully we can get that verbiage over in the lead nav so we don't have to rename everything. Here is yeah, they're all keep left on main. So let's see. Let's click on the actual folder over here on the left in places. Let's see. Open these up. Let's start opening these up. Okay. Well, let's see. We know the dangers. We know the dangers are already in the file. So let's turn off these dangers. Where's a danger on the screen here? There's a danger right there on the screen. We're going to turn this danger off. So now we just turn the dangers off. Now, speed zones, I'm guessing SP zone, that's speed zone, so we can turn those off. VCPs, VCPL. Let's see what's in there. Holy cow. Okay. We're going to turn the VCPs off because we already have those in the file. VCPN, turn those off. What's in pre-run? Stops. Is that all it's in there? Stop, full stop. So we know the stops are in the file. We saw those in the original race file, so we don't need those turned on. What are RCMLs? Rally marker? Yep, rally markers. Turn those off. We already have those in the file. BFG pits, assume. Yep, turn those off. We already have those in the file. Places, I'm sure it's all the towns and stuff. Yep, we don't need those in the file. What is this? Washes, we don't need those in the file. So now notes. So the only thing we need, what's race? Race is the actual route. Yep, see it's the S2, S3, S5, S6. We don't need those either. We already have those. So here's the notes. Now, the notes, again, I'm looking at this for the first time. The only problem I see is that the name is NT for all of them. And the actual verbiage is like a subtitle under it. So I don't know how it's going to export. Hopefully it comes out okay. Worst case, we import these points and at least we have a physical point to go off of in order down the list. That would still take a long time. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully we can get these names of these points out with the point file and put it in the lead nav. But I'm just looking through here. All right, let's scroll back up. What was the other file? There's two files. You had pre-run 4. What's pre-run 4? Let me scroll out here. See what that is. Must be they must have did a separate pre-run down here in this area. So we're going to turn race off. Turn the stops off. VCPs off, rally markers off, and just leave the notes. Let's see. There's only a couple note files in there. All right, so let's see here. Let's see what we can do with this thing. Let's try to take this note folder, save place as, put it in race prep. Let's try to save it out as a KML. KMZ is just a zipped KML. See if this works. Let's save this as pro notes A, because there's those other couple notes that we'll call B. Let's save that. All right. Now let's save down here the other little pre-run they did. Save place as pro notes B. KML, save. All right, cross your fingers. This is going to be really easy, or a little bit of a time suck. So let's pull this program back up, GPS Babel. And this is a free program you can get. I've been running it for years. All it does is convert file types back and forth. There's other programs you can use. Heck, we might need to find one if this don't work to get those names out of it. But I've used this for years. It just simply converts files back and forth between file types. So we need this thing to be a GPX, and right now it's a KML, KMZ. So let me find my GPS Babel. Okay, you're looking at the same thing. Let's where's my file folder? Let's go. All right, let's take we're gonna up here format. So you're up here, you got an input type, you got an input field and an output field. So input field, we're gonna import, or we're gonna input. Let's look for what we need here. Look at all these file types. You could eliminate 95% of these. I don't think they're in use anymore, but let's look. Right here, Google Earth keyhole markup language. And it doesn't look like you're looking at what I'm looking at anymore. So let me see if I can fix this for you. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second so you can see what I see. GPS Babel. Why aren't you seeing what I see? Show cursor, show full screen windows, show windows. Huh. You're not seeing that, are you? For some reason, you are not seeing, I guess GPS Babel's not allowing you to view kind of what I'm doing. But essentially up at the format type up there, I'm changing that. I'm doing the drop down menu. There's a Google Earth keyhole markup language I'm choosing. Next is your file name up there. I'm going to click on that. And let's go. We're going to go look for the folder that I put those files in. I don't know where I put those files. Let's see here. Give me 1 second. Bear with me here. Hold on 1 second. Pro notes A. And we're going to put that in. Put that in there. Give me 1 second. I'm just putting these back in a folder that you can see. Pro notes B. All right. Now, for some reason, you still can't see this live. I don't know why. Must be, it's the program. It's not letting you remote view it. But here, we're going to, again, I'm going to go up in GPS Babel up here. I've changed that format type to Google Earth keyhole markup language. File name. We're going to go and choose the Pro Notes A KML that I exported. Options. Okay, in this options, if you get GPS Babel to play with, in options you have all kinds of things you can turn on and off. So hopefully we can pull those embedded names out of the file. So I'm Give me a second to look through here. Default icon name. Export place markers for tracks. Import line strings for routes. Draw. Hold on. It said you're along for the ride. You're gonna watch me figure this out. Yeah, that looks good. So we're gonna pull waypoints out. Then down here, you can see right now we're gonna the translation options. You got waypoints selected and tracks. I'm turning the tracks off because I don't need any tracks out of this. It's just waypoints. There's filters. Let's see what's in filters. Track filters, active, move, 9. I'm just hoping that those embedded names come out and that we don't just have a bunch of NT labeled points. So tracks, miscellaneous. Well, we'll see what happens. All right. More options. What's under more options? Okay, here we go. Synthesize short names, preview in Google Maps, debugging default format options. Let's see what happens. Okay, I'm going to export it. Then we'll go on the output field. I'm going to choose GPX because you can see on your screen it still says Google Earth Keyhole Markup Language because nothing's changing on there, but I changed that to GPX. And file name, it's going to be the same thing as a GPX Pro Notes A. And I'm going to hit OK. And on my screen, it said translation successful. So now I am going to take you over to nothing update on your screen, huh? File folders aren't upgrading or nothing. Weird. I figured that would show you live what I'm doing. All right, so now I have I turned that KML of those points that we pulled out into a GPX using GPS Babel. There might be some settings we got to go back in there and try to get the actual embedded names out of there because right now they're all named NT. But let's see what they look like. We're going to pull that file in the lead nav and see what they come in as. I'm actually going to pull them in as their own collection. So let's bring up the file folder. I'm going to do an airdrop. Bring up another file window, airdrop. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pull the iPad back up for you all. All right, so now we have the iPad back up. I'm going to airdrop that folder, that file over to here. Pro Notes. Let's see if we get it. All right, there you see it now. You're back with me. Push the little blue square with the arrow. We're going to import that in the lead nav. Now I'm going to bring this in as its own collection because I don't want to mess up. I don't want to put it into the one we're working on, the race collection. I'm going to bring these points into their own folder, their own collection. Just kind of see what happened before I commit. So import. You can see 154 markers are in this. Pro Notes A. Hit OK. Pro Notes A. Let's take a look at these. So they're all NT with no names attached. So let's just show you. Let's back out of here. Go back into the race collection that we're working on. Let's duplicate this as a copy to mess around with. So now we just basically copied, duplicated the file that we were working on together. So now we have a copy of it. Let's pull that up. You got the one route in there, edit. let's see what happens. I'm gonna airdrop that file again, and I'm gonna put it into this collection. So let me see what's going on. I'm gonna import that in the lead now. Now I'm not gonna import it as a new collection. I'm gonna put it into the copy of what we were working on together. Now you can see 154 markers. Those markers were brought in to that copied collection, the race collection. And we're in the copy folder. Now you can see we have markers. We have like 600 because we have all these NTs. Let's go race route, edit, snap us over there. Now, let's see what we got here. Now you can see we have a bunch of NTs in here. So if we cannot get the verbiage to change on the import or follow these points, we could. This is at least a lot better than what I have had to do in the past, but we at least have a physical point. And we could start here at the beginning, NT, and we could bring up the, let's bring back up the, 1 second, iPad view. Let's bring up view capture device. So I could bring the Google map back up here. Turn the race back on. So I could sit here on dual displays or go through here with the course list. And at least now match up the notes with the file. So here, let me do this web shot. Copy. Hold on a second. iPad view. So we could, there we go. So we could start here at the beginning, go back to the beginning of the route. We got VCP 12. Look up here in the list. Where's VCP 12 at? 1, 2, that's the beginning right here. VCP 12. After VCP 12, you see there's a left on the main road. Well, if you go and lead nav, you see VCP 12, and look, there's an NT right there. And look at you can tell on the imagery there. And we could sit here, click on the nearest dot, and use whatever symbol. I like to kind of look at the turn. I like to use a sweeping arrow for that. And we could go. What was it? Hold on 1 second. It was VCP 12 left on the main road. Left onto main road. And then there's another NT. What's the next one? Right at Y. Yep, I can see that. I can confirm that on imagery. I can just put a stay right at Y. VCP 13, there's an NT. What's the next NT? If I go down, there's VCP 13, the next NT, note. The next note is, crap. 13 is right at Y out of main road. There's no point right on it, so I can aim at it. Right at Y. main road. And I could sit here and go down through the list and drop and name every point in there. And that honestly sounds crazy, but it is. I will take that over what I've done in the past of having to calibrate the route line for distance and find where the actual node is supposed to go. So I'm happy that we can at least do that and prep this file. It'll still take me hours, but yeah. So let me just try. Let me just dig a little bit and see if I can actually export that sub name instead of this note. Let's see if we can do that somehow. Because if we can do that, we will make a collection with just the route line in it. We'll share the route to a blank collection folder. So it's just the route line, no VCPs, no RMs. We will import this notes file, hopefully with the appropriate names instead of NT for each point. We'll import that into that collection with just the route file, and then we will perform a convert markers to audio waypoints function, which will pull in all those points into the route as a pin with the right name already attached to it. And then all we have to do then is go through and change the symbols to like a better symbol because it's just going to default as a green flag. So we just go in and edit, and just change the symbol to skull and crossbones for dangers, dips, whatever you want. We can just change the symbols if we want to, or just leave them green flags. But at that point, all we have to do is then share that route with the embedded points back into the main collection, and we're good to go. So if we could do that, that would take maybe, 10 minutes. Worst case, I hit up Score and I see if I can get this named better or something, but I don't think that's going to happen. So worst case, I have to sit here and do what I did, and at least I have a physical NT point on the screen that I can reference to just physically drop a point, which will probably take a couple hours. But that's it. I'm thinking right now in my head kind of what I want to try, but let's go back into let's go back in here and see if we can make something happen. It's been a while. I used to live in Google Earth. I used to operate off of Google Earth. This is freaking awesome. I've done videos on Google Earth before, but even going in here and dirt diving your race is a good idea. Kind of give you a visual of what's coming up. And everything I'm doing, even though it's taking hours to do, we're dirt diving the course. I'm getting an idea of the layout of this race. I'm going through here, looking at terrain. So none of this is wasted. Like we're pre-running right now, sitting here, looking through the course, getting a mental image of what the race is, the sections of the race, while we're dropping these notes in. So nothing, this isn't like a waste. I would prefer to sit here and do this. Like if I had the option to pre-run, like get out there in the dirt and pre-run, or sit here, obviously getting out in the dirt is like, I would love to do that. But it's almost important. It's more important for me right now, rather than rush out there to go pre-run in the dirt, to sit here and do this in dirt dive and prep the file and make it right before we waste our time down there burning gas. And we end up with a complete, trying to say I'm trying to throw foul language in here, but a crap show of a file. And we then have to spend days and days trying to clean up the mess that we created. So I'd rather sit back here, take the time, take the extra days to prep this file right before we go using pre-runner. If we do our work here, it's less work we have to do in the dirt. And you know how it is when you get down there. It's easier to sit here with Wi-Fi and everything else and prep this file and dirt dive and make a plan. get everything right. And then when you go down there pre-running, if that's all prepped correctly, you just run the pre-runner tool, the bar, and you just add in your additional notes and you're good to go. And you don't have to do a lot of cleanup before race day. So if you do it right now, I would rather sit here do that than just rush out the door and go pre-run the first day pre-running opens. So um, now I'm rambling, but so let's I'm trying to decide if I'm going to sit here and waste any more time explaining or you watching me trying to figure this out. But my goal right now is to try to get these points out and rename them what's actually in here right at Y. Let's see here. So that's about it. But if I can get these named, if I can get these exported and named, here's what I'll do. I'll show you kind of what my plan is if I can get these to export with the appropriate names. So going back to lead nav. So let's kind of do what I said we were going to do. Let's go back out and start a new collection. And we'll just name it 2025 Baja 400 edit. All right. So there's nothing in this collection right now. So let's go back out of there, go back to the original file we were working on where we converted all the tracks to routes, merged them together. They're all clean. We have a single race file right here, right? We're going to take that route line, which has nothing in it other than a couple like BFG pit, speed zone, full stop before left. We did a couple points in there, but other than that, it's just a line, a route line. We're going to go down and we're going to copy to other collection. And we're going to copy that over to the 2025 Baja 400 edit that we just made. And then let's go over there. "2025 Baja 400 edit." And you can see the only thing in that folder now is the route. That's it. No VCPs, no RMs, no nothing, right? So now my goal is to try to get these NT points to export with the name, the subnames under them as its actual name. But let's just go ahead and go through the motions of taking that NT, that point file, that note file, and I'm going to share it back over Pro Notes A. So import that in the lead nav, and we're going to put it into the 2025 Baja 400 edit with that single route file, that line. Now we had 154 markers go into that working collection, that edit collection. Let's go over there. So we're in that, we'll go back out so you kind of see what's going on. We created this edit that only has the route in it, and now these markers. Let's go over that route. Now you can see all the NTs. All the NTs came over with it, or into that collection. Now, it would be awesome. What I'm going to try to do is have those come in as the actual name versus this note point. Because then all we have to do is go into the route and go into convert markers to audio waypoints. Let it work. Markers converted. And now you can see it pulled in all those points that were along the race route in as audio markers or audio waypoints, sorry. So now all we would have to do, if those were named correctly, is we would just have to go in here and change the symbol if we wanted. That's it. Just go down the line and change the symbol. Once that's done, all we'd have to do is take that route, copy to other collection, and share it back to the main race file with all the RM and VCP points. And the reason we brought this over into its own collection is because if we would have performed this function in the main collection, it would have pulled in everything along the route. All the RMs, all the VCPs, all the washes, it would have made a mess, and we would have had audio points every 100 yards of stuff we don't really need to hear or see um, being read out to us. So, but that's kind of the idea right there. And going back to future of SCORE putting out races, all they have to do is hand out what they did for the race route with RMs and VCPs, and then in their course note list, actually just hand out a point file of all the notes, just like Best in the Desert has done in the past couple races and a couple of the others. So that's the goal right there. I don't think I'm going to waste your time. I'll check back in, but my goal is to go in here and fire up Chat GPT or something and try to figure out how I can export all those points with those sub names under them and do the same thing we just did, and we're done. Otherwise, worst case, I have to go in by hand and drop a point at the NT point, which takes more time. So, and I have to name each one. So again, I said this would be boring, and there's a lot of work kind of going into prepping this race package. But once I'm done, I will put this race package up on the store, and I'll check back in with you on how or if I was able to export those points as actual names. So that's I don't know what just happened, but I hope you got something out of it. Again, my brain's kind of I'm sitting here concentrating on getting this whole system up and running. It's been a while getting on here, doing some live again. I used to do these all the time with the races. And maybe you got something out of that, but I'm sure I can go back into this and clip some highlights out of it that'll help you in the future. But for those that stuck around through my rambling and trying to figure this out, I appreciate you. And, comment. Tell me you want to hear more of this stuff. Tell me you hated it. I don't care. And like, subscribe, and have a good race. And check back in later. I'll put out when the race package is complete or done. Or if you want to try to tackle this on your own, you can just kind of sit through the mess I just did and kind of figure it out. But it doesn't take too long, and it's not a waste of time. I honestly don't. It doesn't bother me having to do this because, like I said, if I was going to race this, it's just more time behind the map imagery, behind the route, dropping the points, pre-dropping, prepping the file that I want to use to then go pre-run with. Raced a few races now, and like sometimes I know we're going to have a ton of pre-running opportunity. Like we're going to be there for a week, or maybe we have a small section of the race, or I'm driving a small section or in the car for a small section of the race. Well, then I can just focus on that section. Or if I know I'm going to have a lot of time pre-running in the field, I won't sit here and do much of this. I'm not going to try to put the whole course note list in because I'm going to be there dropping the notes that I want in. But if you're somebody that does not get to pre-run a lot, well, then you're the person that's going to try to put this entire SCORE course note list into your file. And this is how you'd go about it. So that's it. Done rambling. But again, hope you got something out of that. I'll check back in later. Let you know when it's out. Join the newsletter. Join the team. Get on the website. Join the team. You'll be the first. You'll get a discount on everything, race files and all that stuff. And that's it. Have a good one. Out.